I caught my wife cheating in the most unexpected way possible. I still can't believe what happened. Last month, my wife came home super excited, holding up a positive pregnancy test. I smiled and hugged her, but inside, my heart dropped. See, 2 years ago, I had a medical condition that made it impossible for me to have kids. 3 different doctors confirmed it, and I went for yearly checkups to monitor my condition. I didn't say anything that night. Instead, I watched as she called all our family members to share the happy news. Everyone was thrilled, planning baby showers and picking out names. My mother-in-law even cried on the phone, saying she'd finally be a grandmother. I just nodded along, gathering evidence and planning how to handle this. Then came our family dinner last weekend. My wife insisted on hosting it to announce the pregnancy to everyone in person. She spent all day cooking her famous lasagna and decorating the house with blue and pink balloons. As everyone raised their glasses to celebrate, I stood up holding an envelope. Before we continue, I said, I have my own announcement. The room went quiet. I pulled out my medical records dated 2 years ago. According to 3 different doctors, I can't have children. So I have just one question. Who's the father? The glass in my wife's hand crashed to the floor. Her face went pale as her own mother read the medical documents. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Her father stood up and left the room. My mom squeezed my hand as I walked out, leaving my wife to explain herself to both our families. I never looked back.
What is the most ignorant thing someone has said to you? Standing in a crowded food court line with my son, I noticed a peculiar interaction unfolding beside us. A curious little girl with pigtails and bright eyes kept glancing at my son, clearly fascinated by him. Suddenly her father, dressed in an expensive suit with a Rolex gleaming on his wrist, yanked her away as if she'd approached something dangerous. The child's face crumpled in confusion as her father bent down, his expression severe. He whispered something urgently into her ear while repeatedly glancing nervously at my son. An elderly woman next to us noticed the commotion and smiled warmly at my son, offering him a small candy from her purse. My son smiled back with pure joy, thanking her politely. The businessman's eyes narrowed at this interaction. Then, under his breath, just loud enough for me to hear, he muttered, "We don't interact with those kinds of people." My stomach nodded as I watched understanding dawn on the little girl's innocent face, her eyes widening with newfound knowledge. She looked directly at me and asked, "Daddy says if I touch him, will I catch what he has too?" My heart shattered instantly. The surrounding conversations fell silent. Her father stared at the floor, too cowardly to meet my gaze. Yet I noticed him subtly moving their place in line further away from us. "No, sweetheart," I replied, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. Then I locked eyes with her father. "He is not contagious. My son has Down syndrome." And in that moment, the only disability in that food court was that father's prejudice. I almost lost my daughter because the doctors wouldn't listen to me. She was only 2 years old when I noticed something wasn't right. Her breathing was off and she kept holding her chest. The ER doctor barely looked at her. "It's just a cold," he said, handing me children's Tylenol. "Kids get sick all the time." He didn't even check her temperature or listen to her chest, just glanced at her from across the room. But my gut screamed that something was wrong. That night, her lips started turning slightly blue. I rushed back to the hospital, terrified. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely drive. "You're being an anxious parent," they said. "She's fine." They tried sending us home again. The nurse rolled her eyes when I started crying. One even suggested I should stop Googling symptoms and let professionals do their job. This time, I refused to leave. I planted myself in that waiting room and demanded a different doctor. They threatened to call security, but I wouldn't budge. I sat there for 6 hours straight, watching my daughter get worse by the minute. Finally, a young resident took one look at her, and everything changed. "Get her into trauma now," she shouted. My daughter's heart was failing. She had a rare condition that was crushing her lungs. If we'd waited even a few more hours, they airlifted her to a specialist hospital. The surgeon later told me, "Your stubbornness saved her life. She's 10 now, healthy and strong." But I learned something that day. Sometimes being a difficult parent is exactly what your child needs.
My parents disowned me, so I became rich, but now they want me back in. I wasn't accepted into med school. I was rejected by my family. "Disgraceful," my father hissed, tossing my theater program acceptance across our dining room. "Whitakers produce doctors, not performers." When I refused to reapply, he drained my accounts, sold my car, and changed the locks. Security escorted me off our estate. I had $43 in a duffel bag to my name. I washed dishes at a diner, practiced monologues at night. My theater scholarship disappeared after my father called them personally. The Whitaker Foundation will never donate if you admit my confused son. May, a co-worker, noticed me rehearsing. Her grandmother owned a failing theater needing renovation. While scraping paint, I discovered original Art Deco murals beneath a historical treasure. The restoration made local news. A Broadway designer saw the story and offered me an assistant position. I worked 18-hour days, sleeping in the workshop. When our lead designer quit mid-production, I stepped in with designs that earned standing ovations. 5 years later, my production design company won me a Tony Award. The text arrived during the after-party. "We saw you on television. We've always been proud." The next day, a letter mentioned the Whitaker Foundation's unfortunate financial reversals and requested reconciliation. I sent one item in reply, a check for exactly $43, the amount I had when they discarded me. The memo line read, "Payment in full for everything you ever gave me."
Found a phone number written on a gas station bathroom wall that changed my life forever. It was 2 a.m. and I was on a late-night drive when I stopped for gas. In the bathroom, someone had written, "Call for a good time," with a number. I was bored and figured, why not? "My friends always said I made terrible decisions," a woman answered, sounding confused. When I explained where I found her number, she started crying. Turns out her ex-boyfriend had been writing it everywhere, trying to get revenge after she reported him for stealing from their workplace. He'd been fired and blamed her. She worked at the local diner and told me she was scared to walk home after her late shifts because he'd been following her. I offered to pick her up after work that week to help out. On Friday, while waiting in the parking lot, I spotted her ex hiding behind a dumpster. He was wearing all black and had a baseball bat. My hands shook as I called the police. They caught him red-handed. Not only did they find the bat, but also printed screenshots of all the places he'd posted her number online and a detailed plan to attack her that night. 2 years later, Sarah and I are married. We still laugh about how a random bathroom number brought us together. Her ex? He's serving 5 years for attempted assault and cyber harassment. Sometimes the worst situations lead to the best endings. And yes, we framed a picture of that bathroom wall. It hangs in our living room.
What is the cruelest thing you've seen a child do? I never thought I'd have to choose between my sister and my daughter. Mia came to live with us when she was 9, after my sister lost her job. Just until I get back on my feet, Kristen promised. 4 years later, they're still here, and I've watched something troubling unfold. It wasn't obvious at first, just small things. Mia hiding Zoe's belongings, then comforting her with exaggerated sweetness when she cried. The whispered comments that only Zoe could hear. The calculated way she'd turn Zoe's friends against her at school, one by one. Girls have conflicts, my husband would say, but I saw the systematic isolation. My 12-year-old now slept with her door locked, afraid of her cousin. Finding Zoe's journal was the breaking point. Pages of a once confident girl now filled with self-doubt. Maybe I really am the problem like Mia says. When I confronted Kristen with evidence, the messages Mia had sent to classmates about Zoe, she defended her daughter fiercely. Zoe is probably exaggerating for attention. That night, I overheard them in the kitchen. She's trying to come between us, Kristen told Mia, just like she always tried to make mom love her more than me. I realized then that this wasn't just about the girls. This was a pattern repeating itself. My sister teaching her daughter the same competitive cruelty. Last week, Zoe's therapist called it what it was: sustained emotional bullying. When I tried again to talk to Kristen, she accused me of blaming her parenting for Zoe's sensitivity. Yesterday, I gave my sister 30 days to find a new place. My family thinks I'm overreacting, but they don't see what happens in the quiet moments, the calculated harm disguised as normal conflict.